So you might need to click continue that you're approving that. And then our recording will start. Good, and some more folks are joining us. So this session is supporting skilled immigrants. And my name is Christina Terrell, and I work with the Ohio Professional Development Network. And I am co-presenting today with Justin. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for joining. My name is Justin Smith. I am one of the Aspire program managers at the Ohio Department of Higher Education. So again, just thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Whatever you need is now. Corey Lane in South Dakota. Just one thing. You're ready to get proud.
See here. I am also going to go ahead and try to mute everyone. So I did go, whoops, am I muted too? No. So I did go ahead and mute everyone, but feel free to unmute and ask questions, you know, as you like and as we need along the way. Let's see here. So I did put a link in the chat. I'm going to put it in again for folks who came in after I put it there. There are some files saved in the WOVA app. They're also all saved in a shared file online, and I put the link in the chat. It should be open and available for you to access that. I'm also going to add the presentation again. But to get us started, to kick us off, this is a session about supporting skilled immigrants. And oops, let's see here. Justin and I are going to show you some state and national resources to help your internationally trained immigrants transfer their skills to a career in Ohio. And we're also going to talk, or Justin specifically is going to talk about a new partnership with the WES Gateway Program that fast tracks credential evaluation. So that's really exciting. And to get us started though, let's just a little to get us all on the same page. So the definition of, you know, foreign educated professionals or highly skilled immigrants are those with an advanced degree and or a professional license from another country. These students may be interested in transferring their skills to work within their occupational field in the US and specifically Ohio. We're also going to show you like some of the resources we're going to show are applicable to a wider audience of your ESOL students. So just in case, you know, you have students that come in who, you know, may not have an actual certification or license, but may have some, you know, degree, and certainly all of our students have skills that can transfer to something. So we'll talk about that too. Okay, let's see here. Whoops, making sure my screen. There we go. All right, so the first resource I'm going to show you, actually, I'm going to go to the internet. I'm going to share 4 resources quickly with you and show you some of the good parts of them. And then Justin's going to talk about the Gateway program, and then we're actually going to do some work thinking and planning how you can bring it back to your instruction and implement these in your classroom. So let's first look at the, I love the acronym, the ONA website, or the Opportunities for New Americans. So this is on part of the Ohio suite of websites. And I'm going to go to the website here and show you directly on it, directly on the website. I'm going to skip, there's some opportunities to look for jobs. So for job search, maybe I can go through these quick. Go through these quickly. So if I scroll down under job search, there's a menu on the left-hand side for this website. So there's Ohio to work, they can search for jobs here. And there's a listing of jobs, and then there's top jobs. I'm going to go through these quickly because I want to focus on one area of the website, but I don't want to leave this out. If I click on the link for education and training, this links to learning English. This will link to your programs, right? So this helps students find your programs if they haven't found you already, but certainly, you know, we're talking about the students that are there. They can learn skills on the job. So preparing, there's all kind of information here, preparing for, finding jobs, university study. And I'm going to look at this college transcript evaluation. I'm going to zero down to this one. This one I wanted to show you because a lot of times we talk about credential evaluation, and people have heard the term WES, and they're like, oh, students, if you need a credential evaluation, go right to WES. Please don't. What I'd like you to consider is, if the students come to you and they're interested in going to a community college here at the top, or a university, is to come to this website, this chart, and take a look here, or to contact the university or community college directly. Because if you look, even if you just look quickly at this listing, there's differences. In this middle column, it says evaluation service accepted, and they're not all the same, okay? So that's very important, is to check with, like, if I wanted to go, if your students, sorry, wanted to go to Kent State University, the university does the evaluation themselves. So if your student goes somewhere else, pays money to another organization to evaluate their transcript, then they still have to go through Kent State University to have Kent State evaluate it. Okay, so it's much easier if they just start with the actual program and school that they want to take a look at. Okay, the other thing I want to show you.
Sorry, Christina?
Yep.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
What about getting it translated into English first? Do you have particular companies that
Yes.
you recommend? And do you have resources that we could provide for that?
Yes, hold tight on that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
It's coming. Good question, though. The last bubble here is on growing businesses. So if your students are interested in opening their own business or becoming an entrepreneur, there are resources there for that as well. The other big piece of this website that I want to show, under additional resources over here, oops, I'm trying to highlight it, that's not working. On the very right, down here, licenses and certifications. So some of you may know that the state has worked on creating licensure charts. The licensure charts, so the state worked with, our state Aspire office worked with the state office here to create this new website and pull in more charts and information than just our Aspire charts. So what this does is it takes a look at the occupation. So there's a listing for the occupation. It links to a website to the website about the occupation, and then it shows the path to employment. So there might be a licensure chart, there might be a career pathway guide, or what's called an e-guide down here for allied health. So all of these things, whoops, I just clicked, so this is actually WES's e-guide, but all of that information is the path to employment is in the next column. The licensure chart that I was referencing that you may be familiar with, and these were created by Aspire, gives the student an idea of the path that they need to follow and go through in order to transfer their credentials. So sometimes this path, you know, they might think, yes, I want to transfer my credentials, let's do it. And then they see the chart and the path that it takes, the amount of money and the time, and they could get discouraged, or at least it, you know, makes it real for the student and lets them know what they really have to tackle. In the meantime, while they're doing that, they might want to look at other or the career pathway within their field and get a job in something else while they're working to transfer that license. So that's what some of these other e-guide type resources here can help them do. Then there's a link to the licensing board in Ohio. It's very important to help your students remember that if they want a job in the state of Ohio, they have to go through the licensing board of Ohio. For a while, you know, we heard of in some other states, it was easier to transfer license in certain occupations, and students were going outside of Ohio to do that. But when they came back to Ohio, they weren't able to get employed because, you know, it has to be through Ohio. So these links here are to the licensing board in Ohio. And then there's just some other information that, that you know, is valuable and useful about getting education and experience in that career. And this, that can help your students get a bigger picture of what it takes. So someone had asked, maybe I should go back to that other chart now on education and training. I'm going to go back to the transcript evaluation. And so here we are. A lot of these say evaluation service that's accepted. It says any on NACES. NACES, I'm going to jump to that now. NACES.org is the National Association of Credential Evaluation Services. And if you look under membership and members, you can see the full listing of current members that your students could go to if they come into contact with a licensure chart or a college or community college, sorry, or university that says any service on NACES is accepted. So they can choose any of these organizations here, any of these listed on this page. And if your student finds one and they ask you, hey, do you think this is a good agency that I can use? I would recommend coming to NACES to check it out to see if they're on the list, because these are the trusted sources to use. Another resource that your students can use is WES. You may have heard of WES. It's World Education Services. So they offer credential evaluation. Again, you want to make sure, your students want to make sure that WES is accepted for what they need for both their occupation and or the school institution that they want to go through. And then it walks you through the process of credential evaluation. But there's also some tools and advice that you can recommend or that your students can use before they get to that level. And they're free, right? Everybody loves free tools. So if I click on free tools here, it's going to go to some of the free tools. There's a GPA calculator, all right? And that's free. That gives your students an idea of their international GPA, all right, and how that translates to a GPA in the States. There's a degree equivalency. So this can help your students, you know, if they want to get an idea about how their transcript equates here to the US. And this goes course by course equivalency here. And so that can help them know, like, you know, what are we talking? If I have to go back to school, do I have to start over? What am I looking at? Again, this is nothing official. This just gives your students an idea. They definitely have to go through the school or an organization on NACES to get the official one. But it certainly gives them an idea. Then there's a scholarship finder in case they could find a scholarship. There's webinars and events that are offered through WES, and they're all free. If you've missed something, if it's already happened, they save it. So it's on demand. You can view on demand, which is really nice. And you can, you know, kind of sort your topics over here for what you're specifically looking for. Here's some keywords that you can plug in to find things a little easier, because there's a lot saved there. but it's nice to have some free tools. There's also an advisor blog. And so these are articles about different, here's some categories: credential evaluations, culture and experience, education, employment. The first one here is, will going back to school in Canada help your career? Well, we might want to focus on something in the US. So there's some immigrant stories, and there's one down here, a bunch of immigrant stories. But then you can also load more and find more. And if you want to, if you can filter, or I can filter, you can do that too. Losing my filters here. But there's a lot of options there. So that is WES. And then the last thing I want to show you, the last national resource, is Upwardly Global. Upwardly Global has some really nice tools that anyone can use or specific students can use. Actually, let me show you that first. So if you want to, sorry, there's a job seeker program right here. And your students can apply for it. What it does is it gives the students specific tailored help to help them get a job, right? To help them review their credentials, get them evaluated if necessary. It helps them, coaches them through interviewing, resume building, the whole gamut, and then, you know, actually matching them with an employer. So they are accepting immigrants from Ohio. So they're working with folks in Ohio now. I know sometimes that changed, but they've opened that up. So your students may want to go ahead and apply for that. The other thing that is very, very useful, under Find a Job, you can click on Professional Licensing Guides. And I am just going to wrap up. So the Professional Licensing Guides are here. They're designed for other states, but they're still useful in giving your students an idea. And then if I click through here, there is a resource library. And we're going to use this in a little bit later because there are lots of tools for your students to use either in class or out of class. And let's see, the only other thing that I do want to mention on Upwardly Global, because it's so timely, is down here, if the thing loads, down here, these tools in black or blue when you get onto it, there's some digital search tools. The Healthcare Connect, there, because of the healthcare issues and the shortage with workers and all of the problems with COVID right now, they're actually taking immigrants who are not completely finished transferring their licensure. So if you have students in the healthcare industry, I would have them, I mean, my recommendation would be to have them to apply for Upwardly Global and see if they qualify and if they could get a job in healthcare, because we really need those essential workers right now. Okay, so that, sorry, Justin. So I'm gonna let Justin take it over now, and he's going to share an exciting new initiative.
All right, thanks, Christina. So I'm really excited to share this next little piece with everybody. I attended a webinar through WES a few months ago about a pilot program that they were starting in the United States. It's called the Gateway Portal. So what this is a chance to help skilled immigrants have their credentials evaluated through WES. And to speak to a question Lindsay asked earlier, it also offers free translation services for a lot of those documents, because it can be very expensive for students to get transcript translated and evaluated. And so I'm really excited that I was able to submit my name to become one of the referral partners for this pilot program. Christina, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. All right. So the pilot started a few years ago in Canada, and really the main goal was to help skilled immigrants get into colleges and universities to transfer credits to start the licensing process in whichever state they're currently living in, and then ultimately obtaining employment, which these are big things for us in the state of Ohio. That's what we want our students to do. We want them to earn, you know, their secondary credentials, their post-secondary credentials, and ultimately get on a pathway to a great career. Christina, next slide, please. So I wanted to look at a little bit of data that relates to the Gateway program. Now, because it is a pilot, it is limited to what countries they are accepting transcripts from. So right now, we have Afghanistan, Eritrea, Iraq, Syria, Turkey, the Ukraine, and Venezuela. So from those countries, I looked at some historical Aspire data from FY19 and FY20. From those countries alone, we had 579 students in the Aspire program throughout the state that reported having an associate's, bachelor's, master's, PhD, or some type of technical certification. And unfortunately, for a lot of these individuals, they didn't, you know, have an opportunity like this. And many of them felt like they needed to get their GED. So in signing up for this pilot, I decided that I wanted to work with the Aspire programs in the state to really try and get, you know, these students who have training a chance to use their training in Ohio. Christina, can you go to the next slide, please? All right, so a little bit about eligibility. As I said, you know, earlier, the student needs to be from one of the countries that I listed. They need to be living in the US right now, and then they must be referred by a WES partner. In this case, it would be me. So the student also has to have some type of proof of their academic attainment, you know, a transcript, a degree. In some cases, though, if they are unable to get those official documents, that still means they're eligible for this service. WES will do all of the legwork to try and track those things down from those countries. Next slide, please. So the application process is pretty straightforward. When you have a student that you have identified as being a good candidate for this, refer them to me. Feel free to give them my contact information. One of the handouts that you will receive today is a flyer that gives some general information about the program, and it also has my contact information. Once they've been referred to me, then I will do a very short interview and get them started with the Gateway program. So I'll give them a username, and then I will go over how they can upload the documents that they have and start the evaluation process. Next slide, please. So once they have set up their account and submitted the documents, what will happen is WES will then take over everything. They will start the process. If they need translation services, WES will do that for free. And then if they're eligible for this pilot, the student does not have to pay anything for this. The evaluation of their credential will be done for free. Christina, can you do the next slide, please? Okay. So once WES has done the evaluation, the student will be notified via email, and they will have a report sent to them securely that they can then use to pursue whatever their next step is. Next slide, please. All right, so these are the referral partners for the state of Ohio. As I said, I would like to work with the Aspire students, but for those of you who may not be in an Aspire program, there are still ways to get this service for your students. So in the Columbus area, Guadalupe Velasquez from Welcoming City is helping, students with this. Brian Wright in Cincinnati, and then Rachel Burgess in Southwestern Ohio. So feel free to reach out to any of them if you would like to have the service for students who are not part of the Aspire system. For those of you who are in the Aspire system, please feel free to refer to me if you have students you think may be eligible. Thank you. Any questions?
I do. I have a student who is from Venezuela, but she currently is in the asylum status. So she's living here in the US, has a work authorization, but has not been processed through to become an official asylum seeker or whatever. So would she be eligible for this?
She would still be eligible for this service. We would be able to look at her transcripts and offer any translation services that she might have. Feel free to send me her contact information, and I would love to reach out to her.
Awesome, thank you. So basically they can be, as long as they have some documentation, even if it's in process of a work authorization, they should be good?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. This is awesome.
Anybody else? See a couple comments in the chat. TJ says that it's incredible. I agree, TJ. That's why I was so excited when I saw the webinar about this. And the hope is that if the pilot goes well, they can expand the countries that they're able to service. Right now, it is free, which I'm really excited about that part. But there is the chance that in the future, it may cost money. But for right now, we're not going to worry about that. And we are going to try to do what we can this year to help these students.
And hi, my name also says Linnea. I'm actually Michelle. I also thank you if it was Danielle who asked the question or about the asylum seekers. I have with not now, but in the past year, taught up to 20 Venezuelans, all of whom have credentials, have from their own country. So this is a great program. So that I understand clearly, if I do refer them to you, it's so that they could get their credentials assessed, evaluated, so that if they were looking for a job in their skill area, that would be something that they could do for applying for jobs. Most of them, I don't think, are looking at going to school. So for future career paths, that's correct. Okay.
Exactly. But to speak to a point Christina made earlier, even though this service is being offered, they will still need to go through Ohio's agency for whatever career that they are involved in. So they may still need to go through the licensing process in terms of sometimes there are exams that they have to take in Ohio to get that final certification. But at least this one piece, being able to go to that agency and say, I am educated in this area. Here is my transcript. It's been evaluated by a NACES member. What do I need to do next to get through the rest of the process? Any other questions?
Hi, there was a question in the chat about the countries that are listed. Will there be other countries added or taken away? Do you know at all?
So that is something that WES will determine after the pilot period is over at the end of the fiscal year. So for right now, it is just these 7 countries. I will say for Canada, the pilot was successful and they did start to roll out more countries that they were able to service for the students.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Okay.
Well, if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to send me an email or call me. I would love to talk to you more about this. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. All right, so lots of exciting resources that you can use with your students. We wanted to give you all an opportunity to look at some of them a little more in depth, or at least talk about. So now that you have this information, how can you bring it back to your students in the classroom? And we wanted to do that in breakouts, right? So I put an activity guide, I guess you would call it, in the chat box. It's also in all of the electronic folders, or the electronic folder. But I've assigned everybody to a breakout room, and we wanted you to do, and now people are dropping off, they're like, yeah, see ya. But we wanted to do a little activity like a think, pair, share, like pick a resource. There's a resume builder, there is a resume video, there's the ONA website, there's a job interview guide, and then the skilled immigrant toolkit that you can use. So review one of the resources, think about how you could use it with your students in the classroom, talk about that, and we'll give you, oh, I'm now chatting too much. Let's take like 5 minutes to talk about a resource, or you can just talk about anything that you've learned today. How are you going to bring it back and work with your students? All right. So I'm going to open the rooms, click to join the room, and have a great discussion. What are we doing? I think we've lost a bunch of people here. Oh no.
Okay. I think we still have a few people left in here.
You'll have to click join. If you're still in here, there should be a link that said join to join your room. Maybe I can can try to reassign people. How about that? Is that working? No. Some people in rooms with just themselves. Let's see here. If you all just want to unmute and talk here, that's fine too. You can just unmute and everybody talk about how you think, you know, what you can implement with your students. Jump into a room and make sure folks are okay. But yeah, just go ahead. Marilyn, Evie, Anna, and oh, Amy is coming back in.
Christina, I don't think I'm able to jump into any of the breakout rooms to check.
Let's see. Yeah, I can't. For some reason, I can't click on you right now either. I wonder why. Oh, here we go. I'm putting you in one, Justin.
Okay, thank you.
Did you get the invite to join? There we go. Marilyn, Evie, and Anna, if you want to just unmute and talk here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, great. Okay, I think just about everybody's back now. Hopefully you
Sorry,
were
we were chatting away.
Go ahead.
I said, sorry, we were chatting away, Mike.
That's all right. That's great. Does anyone want to share some of the conversation you had and anything that might be useful to share with other people? Great. Oh, good. Danielle says the session was super helpful. Good. Anyone want to share?
Christine, would you mind if I share out loud instead of typing? Okay.
Oh, of course, please.
We were talking about how we would use the resume specifically in a multi-level, multifaceted environment where not everyone is into getting a job, and how could we make that do? And Timothy had some great ideas about giving them a already written resume and having them like give you information off it, like have them try and read it. If they were doing a mock interview, that's language practice, conversation practice, all kinds of ways to change the focus away from them so that they can get more language practice.
Great. Those are great ways. Yeah.
Did I sum it up well, Timothy?
Yes, that was perfect, Vilvi.
Okay, cool. So
Because we had talked about the difficulty with classes where not every student is looking for a job or not every student is interested in the citizenship test. And how do you work those parts in still for the students who don't have a direct need for that information?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
Good. Love that. Anyone else?
Sure, yeah, in my group, we talked a little bit about, you know, students that come with like a CV, you know, with a picture. And I think somebody in my group, maybe it was Regina, said, you know, they're able-bodied and have a family, like 3 kids, and I have all that stuff on their resume. It's 4 pages long. So we talked about how important it is to, you know, teach them the difference between a CV and an American style resume.
Good. Yeah, and that's included on one of those resources, the resume
Absolutely.
development one. Good. Thanks, Nathan. Danielle, did you have one to jump in?
Yeah, thanks. So our group, we were talking about, we have lower level students who aren't necessarily quite there yet. But even this information is applicable. We were in the, looking to see what it was actually called, but it was body language information, the skilled immigrant toolkit in chapter 3. There's this whole section on what is appropriate body language and what does it mean. And there were a lot of phrases in there that you can use in conversation. So those would just be so even applicable, even with our lower level, to just start teaching some of those cultural nuances that aren't necessarily implicitly taught, but really important for success, you know, even in the lower level English class moving into more of a career-based path. So that was exciting.
Good.
It looks like Lindsay raised her hand.
Yeah, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. I actually co-teach with Nathan, who's on here, a college and career readiness class. And I thought, oh, we should do a presentation, you know, at the very beginning of the class. It's a college and career readiness for ESOL professionals. So it is this targeted skilled immigrant group that just has all of the resources that you guys have talked about. We haven't gone over like the Ohio New Americans website and the Upwardly Global. So you've just given us so much information. And if anyone wants to guest speak about them, we are always happy to have guest speakers.
We love having guest speakers in class. And to add to that, Justin, we're kind of copying your session from last OAS where you talked about your advanced class you used to have.
Awesome. That's
yeah, that's
great
where we
to
got
hear.
the inspiration for what Lindsay and I are doing.
Good, good. That's exciting. So if you guys need any help, just reach out, let me know. And I'm sure Christina is also on board with guest speaking anytime. Something that I do want to mention about the ONA website, because that's what I work on a lot, is creating those licensure charts and getting them loaded onto that page. If there's ever a career that you have identified as being something that should be on that website, please just let me know and I can try and fill in the gaps. Christy Elliott and myself right now are using the Lieutenant Governor's Top Jobs website to kind of look at what the critical and in-demand jobs are in Ohio right now, and we're filling in the chart based on that. But if there's ever a license guide that you would like, just let me know and I'll start working on it.
How about that service? Love it. Yeah, and let me know if you, you know, ever want me to go through these with your students. I just did that with Tri-C a week or two ago. What other good ideas surfaced? I just realized we have additional time. I had the time messed up, so I apologize. I cut your breakouts a little bit short, but we can, you know, I know you're not shy, so jump in with what ideas you have to share this with your students.
This is a little
Lindsay?
related, but somewhat related. I know.
Can you, Lindsay, can you turn, can everyone hear Lindsay okay? Maybe it's me. It's okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now? Barely.
It's just low.
I'll put it in the chat then, so someone else can talk. And then
It's
I'll...
okay. We can hear you a little. What other good ideas?
While Lindsay's putting it in chat, this is Paula. So I just wanted to say to kudos to Christina. As far as we had our 7th annual transition, well, normally it's a brunch, well, but not in this environment. So it was a week long of virtual sessions. And Eunice, our transition coordinator, there were 15 to 18 sessions. They were AM and PM because, you know, the kids are on the computers during the day. So it just was very well received by students, and a lot of resources and really good questions by the students, because we basically put these right into the classes that were applicable to them. And so the students were participating as part of their class time as well. So this is, like I said, our 7th year, but totally different than what we've done in the past. But special thanks to Christina for, as always, helping out and doing sessions.
Oh, sure. My pleasure. It's always fun to come out and talk to the students, and or to jump on this year. So I thought it was great. So, and the students, man, they're great. You guys, oh, I love your students. They just jumped right in and asked questions, and, you know, didn't seem to faze them. So Lindsay, I see Lindsay put her comment in the chat. Sorry, Lindsay, feel free to jump in. We'll just listen carefully. But she said, I know apprenticeships are a big trend right now. Is there any discussion about how to create these specifically for skilled immigrants? Justin, do you have any information or knowledge about that?
So there was a webinar that I came across a couple weeks ago. I believe it was through COABE, but I will check back through my email and send it to you, Lindsay. It had some really great ideas for getting apprenticeships started and partnering with businesses in your community. So
yes, please send it my way. Thank you so much.
Great. Very nice. Any other fun ideas? There's another comment. Regina asks, any idea of the numbers of students in the Canada program?
So Regina, I don't have a number for how many students were serviced in their pilot program. WES did release a report that's available on the Gateway website that you can look at if you're interested in learning more about how the program was implemented and rolled out in Canada.
Any other ideas for implementing? Questions?
There's certain areas that would make them a better candidate for the program, you think? Like, you know, obviously the healthcare nurses maybe, but maybe their English is very low, but maybe, you know, there's specific degrees that make them a better candidate?
You know, for the Gateway program, there's not a particular degree or credential that's going to make them or increase the likelihood of the service being provided to them. But something that you could check out is that top jobs list. And maybe for your students who don't have credentials or are interested in starting a new career path, that's how you can work with them to kind of see what the critical and top jobs in Ohio are right now. And I'll put a link to that website.
Yeah, I was just doing that, Justin. There's the, sorry, that's the ONA, opportunities for new Americans. And so I think
there's a link to it from there. What I'm putting in the chat for everyone, this is the one that goes directly to the search tool.
Good, thank you. And Megan also put a link in there about information on apprenticeships. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Nice. Are there any other resources that you all use with your students that you'd like to share that we could benefit from? Any different sites or resources that you use for, you know, careers, career awareness, or career exploration? Just have a couple minutes left. Justin and I were talking, I was just going to share our ideas, Justin. We were talking and brainstorming some different ideas for implementing some of this. And of course, we're not in the classroom anymore, but one thing, or a couple of things we came up with was doing project-based instruction and creating something like a hyperdoc or the web quest. I'm dating myself. I don't think they call them those anymore, but for like a customized career research for your students. And so you could use any of these websites, you know, the ONA website, WES, or Upwardly Global, even NACES, you know, just to have students and let them customize their search and then report back or create a presentation or something like that. Justin, you want to share your?
Yeah,
idea?
so
I like yours.
When I was still teaching, I attended a session last year at this conference that was all about these great apps and games to use in the classroom. And one of them was called Flipgrid. And, you know, I was lucky I taught, you know, advanced ESOL students. So it was a little bit easier, but it could still be done with lower level students, definitely. So what it is an app that they put on their phone, and it lets them create like up to a 3-minute video. The instructor makes a prompt, they go to the class webpage, and then I was thinking, you know, have them kind of do this and look at some of those resume resources, record a mock interview, and then as a class, everybody can come together and kind of watch these videos and, you know, have a discussion about, you know, professional language, how could they improve their video, and then the teacher on the back end can then use the scoring rubric to go through their speaking. So Michelle, thank you. Yes, so that flyer is, I'm still waiting for WES to create one for the US, so we have to use the Canadian one right now. You can ignore anything that talks about fees. Yes, so it is free for the US pilot. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. As I said before, feel free to reach out to me, to Christina, if you have any more questions, or you'd like to speak about some of these things and rolling them out in your classroom, or if you want some more suggestions, just let us know.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Good to see you.
In chat as well. World Ed, Ohio means jobs. Yes.
I will save the chat and the video, and we'll add it to the WOVA website. Good luck to you all. Good to see you.
Bye.
Recommended the 16 personalities website.
Lindsay, can you repeat that?
Sorry, I don't know what's happening. Somebody had recommended the 16personalities.com website. Have you ever used that?
No. Can you?
It's like the Myers-Briggs, but you can do it in like 47 different languages.
Wow.
So I'll put that in the chat as
The
well.
chat? Okay.
So
thank you. Great.
So it's like a profile for career,
okay.
personal, family, relationships. But of course, the benefit is that they can use their own language.
Yeah.
This assessment. I like Ohio means jobs, but it's more personality based, which I like to use as well when doing career stuff.
Yeah, sure. Great. Thanks. Another good resource. All right.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.